Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Carpe Diem webcast, where we ask questions for founders, entrepreneurs, and leaders of high growth businesses that you want answers to. So with no further ado, our interviewee for the day, please introduce yourself and let us know what you do.
My name is Courtney Kelly. I'm a sales rep at Shopify, and I work at Shopify Plus, helping enterprise level companies and companies all over the world get up and running and selling online. And we really focus on high growth, high volume merchants at Shopify Plus.
Brilliant. Thank you, Courtney. So what is it that you like most about working with brands and businesses?
Oh my gosh. I started my career in fashion, and I feel like I was one of those people that was just obsessed with magazines. And I worked at Elle Canada, and then I eventually worked at a private magazine called S Magazine in Canada. And I just loved working with brands. I loved listening to the stories. I loved the history of fashion and especially beauty. That kind of like grew as I was working in those publications. And so as I was working there, I started to just kind of like feel more interested in the business side of things, and then learned about a little company called Shopify in my hometown in Ottawa, and kind of fell in love with that idea as well, being able to help companies. I, not being a very technical person, could definitely relate to the struggles of having to kind of figure out a developer and all these technical things that you need whenever you're thinking about building a business online. And then falling in love with the story about Shopify and how it is really user-friendly, and it can allow anyone and everyone to have the autonomy to do their job.
So you mentioned struggles there a couple of times. What are the, beyond the transference of business aspirations to technology, what are the challenges that you're seeing your clients currently facing?
Well, commerce is changing a lot. Just today, I read an article about how Target and Walmart are teaming up to close their stores for Thanksgiving weekend. So for the past 20 years, we've had these stories about Black Friday and the giant amount of sales that companies are going through in their brick and mortar locations. And now, because of the current situation that we're in, companies really need to start to look at how they operate their business. A lot of fashion companies have leaned very heavily on wholesale, where this has become a really big challenge in today's market and today's climate. And so it's really interesting to be at a pivot point for commerce in general, and to see so many companies now having to rethink. For a very long time, they might have thought, oh, e-commerce has just been kind of an addition to their retail strategy, whereas now e-commerce is playing just such a giant role in the survival of a lot of businesses.
So we've seen, just picking up on what you've just shared there, we've seen that there's an appreciation now that digital and e-commerce is no longer the preserve of sales and marketing, that every department is an essential player in the success of the production of the machine. How has Shopify brought those previously excluded members of the team on board? What are the particular things that you've seen from warehousing, logistics, and so on that you mentioned?
Shopify builds towards the 80% of whatever our merchants need. We have over 1 million companies operating on Shopify, and we're very proud of our developers and our engineers that work within Shopify we're able to identify certain challenges that they're facing and try to build towards that, solving that problem. But we also have a giant ecosystem of apps and the ability to create your own private app to suit whatever type of customer journey or workflow that you need internally. I think that is one of the biggest benefits of Shopify, but it's also where our future is going. You know, whenever you speak about logistics, it's hard not to mention Shopify Fulfillment Network. For a really long time, shipping has been a challenge for a lot of merchants, and Shopify identified that and really thought hard about how can we make the logistics part of the sales process that much easier for our merchants. And that's why we launched the Shopify Fulfillment Network. We have a number of locations around the US and in Canada, and it allows for us to really use data that is transmitted, like all of the sales. We're able to start to better forecast where your products need to actually be housed to reduce the actual shipping costs that you're going to incur. And that's kind of just like a tiny piece of like where we're wanting to go. We really do believe that we want to make commerce better for everyone, and that's multiple steps along the way.
So you mentioned there making commerce better for everyone, which is obviously the watchword at Shopify. But for yourself, partly with your magazine background, who have been the influences in your journey?
Oh my gosh. I'm lucky to have a lot of people at Shopify to learn from. There are so many wonderful, leads that I have worked with that have taught me quite a bit, but also some really great women within the business that have shone a bright light on the opportunities within Shopify and within e-commerce and commerce in general. It's been a really great pleasure to have been someone to have not only worked at the head office in Ottawa, but also to have moved to London to join the EMEA team. And I cherish this opportunity and all of the people that have played a part in that. In terms of brands, I've been lucky to be able to work with some like the biggest brands within the market. And not to talk about how great my job is, but it is very fulfilling and interesting to be able to speak with company owners and e-commerce directors, global IT teams, to really identify like what are the challenges that they're facing and really try and help solve some of those issues and make them that much stronger in the future.
Variety is the spice of life. I can vouch for that. So just as a bit of fun at the end, and it may relate to your Shopify experience or prior, but tell us about your first ever sale.
Oh my gosh, my first ever sale, like as a salesperson in general?
It could have been cookies on the street.
I think like I wanted to be a newspaper delivery person whenever I was really young. And my dad was very reluctant because he knew I was not a morning person. And he was like, okay, girl, you can do this. And part of that was to get other people to sign up for subscriptions. And I remember coming home that first week and getting a couple of new people signing up for the paper. And then feeling like, oh, I've done my job. So I hung up my reins like 2 weeks later. But I have had that kind of red thread of like sales throughout my career. And I genuinely do love listening to what people want, like what are the struggles, whether you're working in retail and, oh, I have an event to go to and I need to solve for this, or working at Shopify and I have a giant company and I need to solve for this. It brings new conversations and it challenges you every day. And I think that's part of the reason why I love sales.
Well, thank you for our conversation today, Courtney. If you know of anyone else that you think that we should interview that's inspirational or can give guidance to entrepreneurs, high growth business leaders or founders, please get in touch and follow the links below in the post.